Hello, everybody. My name is BTT. I'm here with BBP, and we are going to be in it versus the 420 team. I am not going to say their whole name because I am not as good as Elise. In it are in red on your team. They have currently gone a Balgorn, which is actually a gun and new Balgorn, dual Dracovic, Absolution, Pontifex, dual Arbitrator, Zvipple, Deacon. So a lot of control with the Arbitrators, the Svipple for tackle, the Ponty for links, with Absolution double Dracovic for their main damage core. BBP, why don't you introduce the 420 team for us?
Well, 420 MLG Twin Turbo 3000 Empire Alliance Reloaded is running 3 Tempest Fleet Issues, a Zealot, a Hugin, a Magus, 2 Deacons, and 2 Skybreakers. It's a little bit I think we've seen this a few times, but there's a ton of damage on those Tempest Fleet Issues. The thing that kind of interests me here, though, is did the initiative gamble correctly on how they fit those arbitrators? Because if they do have tracking disruptors, that can seriously damage the Tempest Fleet Issue's ability to do damage. But if they brought them as missile guidance disruptors, well,
Yeah, they're going to have a bad time. We're seeing 10 minutes left in the match. Talking about it, we've seen the 420 team bring in those two Chad breakers at 0, hopefully to try and grab something and lock it down.
they do have it set up very, very well to try and screen off as many ships as they can. I am a little bit worried for the longevity of those Skybreakers just because of the amount of newts and webs that they have. There are double webs already on both Skybreakers. They are trying to rep them up right now, but one of them is dropping quite quickly. They are shield
Wow, it's
bonus and it's
gone.
dead. Okay, there you go.
We are seeing both Tempests. We're seeing two Tempests of Amatus and Baltrum have got TDs on them, but not a third. By the looks of that, the Arbitrators may only have one TD each and are just splitting them across.
Yeah, and both Skybreakers are already dead. With the Balgorns, Newts, and Webs, there was, as soon as the match started, there's no way they were escaping. However, I don't think that they're necessarily integral to the 420 team's plans. I don't think that they really need them just because of the way their fleet is set up. That Fleet Tempest is taking a little bit of damage, but remember, it is armor tanks, so just because it's losing shield doesn't really mean that much.
Yeah, what we've seen here is the Drekovix and the Absolution have loaded close range damage and just waited for the Tempest to get right on top of them, so their short range damage can be applied immediately and start ramping up. That's why you see its health start to go down the closer it gets to the enemy ships, and the inner team's damage slowly start to increase the closer the Tempest gets to them.
I will say that the Paradigm's Drekovic is got two and about to have all 3 Tempest Fleet Issues sitting directly on top of him. So I don't think he's going to last very long. It's going to be interesting. There's a ton of DPS from Tempest Fleet Issues, but Dracovics are pretty tanky, and depending on the fit, he might be totally okay.
We are actually seeing a Deacon of Thorn Knight is way out of position. He's way in front of his team, right in the middle of the 420 team. That's why you see him lose a little bit of damage. He's been webbed now, and he's going to start taking damage because he's just gone in too deep. By the looks of it, he tried to orbit the Drekovic, which was taking damage, and unfortunately, his autopilots put him right in the back line of the enemy team.
And that Dracovic is dropping quite quickly. Well, Thornite is webbed down, kind of in a corner. He's probably still applying some reps, but not as much as he really needs to right now. At the same time, the Levi's Deacon from the 420 team is also tackled and being muted off in a corner. So, both Logi are kind of not exactly where they want to be. It does look like 420 is swapping over onto that Deacon, or at least partially doing so, trying to split the reps a little bit. And the Drekovic and the Deacon are both going down slowly but steadily.
Yeah, and it's really important that whoever trades first is going to do really well here. Now, bear in mind the inner team does have 3 battle cruisers and a gun Balgorn, whereas the 420 team just has a 3 fleet Tempest. So if they trade ship for ship, if they're trading a fleet battleship for a trig battle cruiser.
And something to note, that Trig battlecruiser does go down. The Paradigm does die. However, his guns were not on for at least the last 20 or 30 seconds due to newts. So the damage really, obviously the overall damage has dropped, but the initiative still is doing pretty much the same that they've been doing for a while. So that Fleet Tempest definitely could still go down, especially depending on how this Deacon situation goes. The Thornite's Deacon is now being muted out. And one thing about those little Logifrigs is newts are insanely powerful against them.
Yeah, because unfortunately they don't have much room to fit cap boosters. They only have two mids on the Deacon, so you can fit an AB and a small cap booster or a medium cap booster, and that's it. You cap boost once, even with 200s, and then for 24 seconds you're stuck doing nothing if they time their newts correctly.
And Levi's Deacon does go down. It looks like they were able to kind of hard swap and take him out. But at the same time, Thornight's Deacon is also dropping quite quickly. It looks like both teams have decided that the best way to deal with this is to trade each other's Logi.
Yeah, and we're seeing once these deacons get newts on them and get webs, they are pretty squishy. We've seen one deacon go down by Flushy, and then all the damage go back on Beltram. What the inner team are doing, which I think is really, really good, is they're letting the Swipple and the Pontifex apply damage to the deacon while swapping all of their battle cruisers back onto the Tempest. They know the deacon, if a deacon reps the Tempest, the deacon's going to die, and the deacon's going to die anyway because it has no support.
And it looks like 420's Deacon goes down first. Rivergeist on the initiative side, he's taking some damage. I think they're having a little bit of trouble tracking him because of how close he is. So he's going to go down eventually. It just might take a little bit. I'm watching the battle ships both miss him. Interestingly, somehow the Fleet Tempest of Baltram is surviving just on rep drones alone, and initiative really needs to clear that off because this is about to turn into a DPS race, and I'm not really sure who wins this one.
Yeah, we're seeing the Tempest finally drop into structure now, and it looks like the Tempests are probably going to swap to the Drekovic of Ricky Big. So hopefully they can break that Tempest and move on before this Drekovic goes down, because if it does go down, it's going to be the end of the match.
Yeah, we'll see. Like we've talked about it a couple times already today, but Triglavian ships are so susceptible to newts as well. And if each of those Fleet Tempest has at least one heavy newt on them, we're gonna. I don't like. I'm watching this Drekovic, and his guns aren't firing. He's just not doing anything, and he's just dropping so fast.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see if a Balgon and an Absolution beats two Fleet Tempests, which I don't think they do unless the support wing stays alive, which it looks like it's doing. The Pontifex Arbitrator, and Swipple is breaking through the Hugin very, very slowly, but they're gonna have to do heroes' work to turn this match around.
And the issue too is that the Balgorn is a gun Balgorn. Balgorns don't really do all that much damage. A lot of times people don't even bother putting guns on them because it's easier to just throw a full rack of newts and use that amazingly powerful bonus on them.
Yeah, we are seeing a Tempest and the Absolution drop at like similarly equal rates, but that is mostly because the Tempests were right on top of the Dracovic and have to burn closer with these auto cannons. So that is why their damage is not ramping up yet. And as we're seeing, as they get closer, the Tempest is applying more damage and it's going down. We are seeing the Magus of the 420 finally start to go down.
Is Zapolution is taking a ton of damage, and I mean they're shooting lasers into Minmatar battleships. Like they have such crazy high EM thermal resistance just by itself. The Magus does go down. I think the Svipple on the initiative side might be dropping here soon too, but those two Tempest fleet issues are just pounding into this Absolution right here.
Yeah, it's important to notice that if you look at the defense bar of either teams, the defense bar of the init side is relatively blue with just that tiny little bit of purple. If anyone's wondering, that purple on the bar is your active rep power, how much reps you have left on your ships, either fit with ansils or things of rep drones. As you can see, that 420 team have a lot higher active rep. They're staying alive longer because the Tempest fleet issues have those large Ansil reps on them.
Yeah, I'm not really. I don't know, man. Like Balgorns are cool, but I don't think that you see just so little damage coming out. That Fleet Tempest is almost surviving just off of its own self reps at this point.
Yeah, it looks like it's mitigating enough damage to stay alive now that the Balgon's the only thing left on the grid.
And even if it goes down, they're still going to be down just a little bit more points, especially when this Pontifex goes down. Initiative could pull this back if they take out this Tempest Fleet issue, which it might be on an Ansel reload right now. He might be finally having cap issues from that Balgorn, but they are going to have to take out either the Zealot or the Hugin or the other Tempest Fleet issue, but I don't think that's going to happen.
A interesting thing to notice is that both teams brought damage drones here. and they have not been smart bombed off, which is a change from what we've seen in a lot of other comps. A lot of other comps we've seen with these battleships is the all of that rep drone power comes from these battleships dropping rep drones and keeping their ships alive. That is possibly something that each of these teams can do to improve, is to change their drone layout. But at the moment, we're seeing the huge amount of rep drones just break that Tempest, and that is what finally broke the Tempest. All of the damage drones from the two arbitrators and the Balgorn.
Yeah, and at this point, the initiative needs to either they have to take out either the Hugin or the Zealot. You're not going to break through a Tempest in fast enough time with just a Balgorn's DPS, and you can kind of tell the 420 knows that because they don't have them sitting directly on top of everything like everyone else seems to like to do.
Yeah, you're seeing the arbitrator hurry away, trying to stay alive. It's just kiting around at the edge of the arena. It just currently has 3 Hornets on it from the Zealot, I believe it is, because the Zealot is just applying damage and applying its drones while it's fleeing away.
And the Hugin has been webbed down by the Balgorn, but 45 seconds, I mean, that's, T2 Minmatar armor resists versus a Balgorn.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Hugin is just running. The Balgon's not applying damage enough, and the drones aren't catching up with it when it's micro warp driving away. And this Hugin looks like it's going to survive.
He's also using infiltrators, so what's that? Probably like a 90% EM resistance on that thing. Maybe
Yeah,
not quite that much, but it's pretty dang high. And yeah, the Hugin's smart bombing the infiltrators off right now. He's doing his best to live. You can do a little, buddy. You just got to survive for 10 more seconds.
you are probably correct in the 90% resistance. By the way, a Hugin has an 85% base resistance, and once links go up, it can pop up to that high.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah.
Fortunately,
It was close.
yeah, it was very close, and just a little bit of piloting change or a little bit of comp swap out with those drones could have made this match swing either way, and it was a very, very good match.
And it was, and 420 MLG Twin Turbo 3000 ... Alliance does end up taking this with 67 points to 56. Very, very close. But at the end of the day, they weren't able to take down those Fleet Tempests quite fast enough.